What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunched Boxing News afternoon / night chat. And I am here. I am your host, of course, Kurt DeVille. And let's talk about some boxing. Of course, we had boxing last night from both sides of the pond. I didn't catch the first show, the UK show, but I did catch the later show because I was ripping and running all over the place. But the Stevens versus Pacheco fight was good. I think the scorecards were not where they needed to be, but I guess the right man won. I'm not mad about the decision. I'm mad about the scorecards that made the decision. So I think that's a big difference. A lot of people don't know the difference of that, because that just shows you if the refs were actually paying attention to what was going on in the fight versus who they were going to pick anyway. So if they were going to pick somebody to win, at least do it right, but it makes it blatantly obvious that you guys weren't scoring the fight. So you guys weren't even looking at the fight, and guys like Stevenson, Stevens rather, wasn't not the house name, Eddie Hearn's fighter, they pretty much, based on the promotional outfit you're under, you're going to win the fight. That I'm gonna give you guys an example. Do you guys think if Joe Joyce, now this fight was in 2020, do you think if Joe Joyce wouldn't have beat or stopped or made Daniel Dubois quit, do you think that Joe Joyce would have won that fight off points? We got comments. Anis Amara, good day to you. Jay, Counterpunch Jay, all the way. Eunice Borderball, hello there. Bill Keaveney in the building. Let's go, champ. Yeah, man. That's an example of what I was just talking about, though. That's a better example that we can relate to because that was a high-profile fight, even though it was during COVID time. The fight between Joe Joyce and Daniel Dubois was supposed to be Daniel Dubois' continuation to what he's doing now. But it came to a screeching halt when Joe Joyce made him quit. Thoughts on the Chisora Otto Wallin fight? When is that fight happening? I don't know when it's happening, but let me give you my counterpunch on Otto Wallin versus Derek Chisora. That's still a tricky fight for Derek Chisora, and there's no guarantee that he'll win that fight. And I'm going to tell you why. Otto Wallin is no PUSSY. He's not. He's not a pussy. He's not a quitter. Does he have hard or big punches? No, he don't have big punching power. But understand that you don't need big punching power to be tough. There's a lot of fighters that are tough that just don't have huge punches. Okay? And Otto Wallin is one of them. I think it's an interesting fight based on the fact that, remember, Derek Chisora's rival, Dylan White's supposed to fight Otto Wallin, right? And the fight never happened. It just never happened. So you ask yourself, you're like, okay, well, what's up with that? Chisora will face off. His face-off was hilarious. Oh, Isaac, when was the face-off? Because I didn't catch that fight. That's kind of a sleeper to me. But I knew the fight was made based on the fact that Jarrell Miller was supposed to get the opportunity to fight Derek Chisora. I would have preferred that, and I think because of that, kind of, But nonetheless, one door closes, another one opens. So this is the open door, or the open window, or the open opportunity for another fight. So, no, Otto Wallin could very well upset Derek Chisora. It depends on where Derek Chisora is at. See, I think, how many fights is he? 47? Or no, this is his 48th fight? No, this is his 49th fight. And then the next fight will be his 50th fight. He better be careful with Otto Wallin because Otto Wallin is coming off a win. Otto Wallin, he quit on the stool, but if you look at his face That's not necessarily a Daniel Dubois stoppage or quitting situation, right? He didn't quit like him. Do you expect Hunter on American card? I hope so. I haven't heard much from Hunter, and that's sad. That's unfortunate, but what he does. Let's see what Hunter does. Yeah, this dude's nuts. Dude is crazy. But let's hope to see Michael Hunter around, because he's already, what, 35? He'll be 36 this year. So I don't know, man. Will you get the AJ Wilder fight? Will you get the AJ Wilder fight in 2025 based on what Eddie Hearn recently said? I don't know. I don't know. I know this much though. I think that AJ will fight Wilder over McCauley, because I think the money, first of all, the money will be offered to him. You know, the money will definitely be offered to him. Versus McCauley. McCauley's, you know, he has the reputation, but he still doesn't have the resume. So, I mean, to be fair, neither does Wilder, but Wilder's been in there with a lot of people. And see, that ass whooping Wilder, those ass whoopings Wilder took is just a result on why people should fight everyone. Because it's not a foregone conclusion who will win based on who you feel will win. We're so emotional in boxing, man, to the point that we really don't understand that, hey, this fight could go a totally different way. See, like Derek Chisora and Otto Wallin. That fight, man, you don't know how that fight will produce. Otto Wailin's tricky. He's tricky. He's awkward. He's a southpaw, you know. Do you think Wilder is still money? I think the combination between him and AJ, I think that's the best money that he can get. Will he get more money than someone like Jarrell Miller, Otto Wallin? Yeah. You know what I mean? He will. But he only has one more opportunity, I feel. If he loses that opportunity, he's finished and he should just retire. I think Wilder has 2 fights, and that's a maximum, because he has to beat Curtis Harper before given an opportunity to do anything else. Any news about Philip Hergovich? No. Last I heard, he was training. Sup, CJ? Counterpunch to you. Man, I am headed to the gym. I am headed to the gym, dude. It is hot though. It's hot in here. It's like Louisiana weather weird. It's cold outside, but it's hot inside. So like if you turn off the air, or if you turn, you got to turn the heat down, because the heat will run you out. But when you go outside, you get cold. That's a good way to get sick. Any Mama Lou, hey there, Kurt. How's it going? It's going good, man. It's going real good. Bryce Productions in the building with that high. That's crazy. Shout out from Brooklyn, New York. Just new to your channel. Is that Jay Sharp? Jay Sharp, counterpunch to you, bro. New York in the building. You know, this is worldwide, so we're all over the globe. Welcome to the channel, bro. Much more to come. You see the content is always flowing, because it's always going. You know, we're going to be talking about something in boxing. This is not one of those channels that you might hear from me next week. Now, you're going to hear from me in the next couple hours. So stay tuned for that. Please like and share. That's what I'm talking about. But yeah, man, back to what I'm saying about last night, Pacheco and Stevens. Pacheco and Stevens, man, that's kind of like I don't know. That was a house fight. Just a house fight. That's all it was. It was just a house fight, plain and simple. Eddie Hearn show, you know, the headliner, the guy that he's promoting, the guy that he's pushing, you know, the zone, you know. CJ, smash that like button, show our support to the channel, and subscribe and share. Absolutely. Appreciate you, CJ, in the building. Good stuff. Interesting fights last night. Stevens was durable. Hey, man, the menace, bro, is it Mercado? Mercado's going to be something else, bro. He is going to be something else all the way around. Got some good fights last night, man. Predictions for I Get versus Zhang. Ugh. I mean, in short, I Get Caballo, man. You know something, I'm going to say something. I'm going to say a bold statement. I Get Caballo could end up beating everyone. I mean, everyone that he fights, he'll end up beating. The only person I see that may give him problems that I know will is Alexander Usyk. Which, by the way, you guys know that Alexander Usyk is back in training. It may not be hard, full training, but he's back in training already. He ain't even, look, he couldn't sit around the house. A lot of those guys, man, it gets addictive, especially when you're in shape, bro. When you're in shape, your body talks to you. When you're in shape, your body talks to you. Now, it's been a while since I've been in full shape, but when your body starts changing, transforming, and you get to a point your body's stronger and you're seeing results, and then those results come more and more progressive. Sitting around the house is like torture if you're in shape. So if you're a fighter or an athlete and you're in shape, bro, you can't sit around the house. You know, unless you just got married or some shit like that. You up with your girl and she feeding you a bunch of homemade meals that's making you stuffy and chunky. But other than that, man, you know, if you're in shape and you're an athlete, I mean, if you're a true athlete, you're not going to feel comfortable staying around the house. You're going to have to go to the gym because your body is conditioned to stay a certain way. And I think that's Alexander Usyk's problem. Yeah, gym is the best addiction, absolutely. Caballo's 2 wins might not been so good after Mark Madoff's second loss and Frank being injured. That's true. But understand, you just got to keep winning. You can't pay that no mind if you're I Get Caballo, but you know, to break down the realism in that, Frank, you know, he had a surgery right after that. You know what I mean? And I know Frank. I've been talking to Frank. We talk on a, well, not a daily basis, but like a weekly basis. I'll hear something from Frank, you know, and I don't think that he was 100%, but I don't think he, I think he did the right thing, just getting the surgery and let that speak for itself versus, nah, man, I had an injury. Nah, nobody don't want to hear that, you know, but when people tune into you, they see your social media, they see you're in the hospital, they see you went through something, they see the receipts. You know, that's what boxers should do, especially after losses, that the loss might have been because of an injury or, you know, something of that nature. It could have been that way, but as long as you give receipts, as long as you fully show people like, hey, this is what it is, people will see it for themselves and make their own decision. Nothing more, nothing less. Can Wilder be a heavyweight champ again? He might be. I don't know, man. Because there's too many people right now that are over him that's beat him. You know, so Wilder has to wait for Joseph Parker to do whatever he's going to do. He has to wait for Zhilei Zhang to do whatever he's going to do. He has to wait for those guys that beat him to go for their opportunity, because they got the opportunity over him because they beat him. And they got to fall behind in the back of the line before he can get a time to shine. That's what's going to happen with Wilder. See, you can hang around long enough. If he fought long enough, if he still has the punching power, if the ayahuasca didn't affect him to that point that everybody thinks, or a lot of people think, then he could. But it depends on who's in front, who's left. You know, the question is, who could get the belt that Wilder couldn't beat? Who took that belt? Why is overlooking Parker by that Usyk call out? Well, you can't blame Daniel because Frank has already put him up to it. He already put him up to it. So that wasn't Daniel's idea to go in the ring. It was Frank telling Daniel to go in the ring. And then that comes to another question. You know, Frank Warren, I heard a question, is Frank actually becoming the puppet master? Is Daniel his puppet? And I would say yes, but I look at promoters differently. CJ Father Time decides. What is your name? My name is Kurt DeVille. I do hope Dubois is concentrating on Parker. I mean, he should. We'll see. Wilder got an apology to make to Mark Breland and go back with him. He's not going to go back with Mark Breland. He's too proud for that. You can forget about that, buddy. You can forget about that. Daniel's mouth opens, Frank speaks. Well, I think that Frank is his promoter, and I think promoters should be able to talk. See, I don't really think that. I think people got it all wrong about this whole speaking for him. That's the promoter's job. That's the promoter's job, is to promote the fighter. So he's supposed to speak for the fighter. See, everybody looked at Don King as a very exuberant or eccentric promoter, but honestly, he was just doing his job, and I think he did it with more passion than normal people. But he did his job. It's the promoter's job to promote the fighter. That's it. They have other people like the lawyers, the firms that deal with the paperwork. That's not the promoter's job. So it's basically, okay, you got to ask yourself, if the promoter doesn't promote the fighter, what good is he really? What is his job title? What is he really doing if he's not promoting the title, like Eddie Hearn? You know, slick tongue ass Eddie Hearn. He's just doing his job. See, with Bob Arum, all those times he talked bad about Terrence, because Terrence is a quiet guy, not a shy guy, but a quiet guy. He's like, well, it doesn't make sales, it doesn't promote. You're the promoter, Bob. It's your fucking job to promote Terrence Crawford when he was promoting. That's it. See, people of look, I know what the definition of a promoter is. It's just we've got so used to these promoters doing really nothing because they've got a fighter that knows how to promote themselves. You know what I'm saying? So promoters are really scumbags because a lot of them don't do their job. They just take a percentage and they're front row, and they watch somebody either win or lose, take punishment, put their lives on the line, and then what? And then what? They get paid, what, 10%, 15%, 30%, whatever percent they get paid. If Crawford was English, he would be a stadium fighter. I believe that, but then again, I don't know, because if he was English, that meant that he would still have to beat or fight the same people to be where he is now. I don't think Eddie could do that for him, because Eddie's already said that he couldn't do anything for Terrence, because Al Heyman ran the show because he had all the welterweights. So you don't have to worry about the Fox if you got all the hens. See what I mean? Terrence was going to have to deal with whoever promoted all of those welterweights to show that he was the best, because he had to fight them. See, even the Sean Porter fight was difficult for him to actually get, because he had to deal with Al Heyman. And the Errol Spence fight was damn near impossible, because Al Heyman didn't want any other outside influences. He didn't want to guarantee anything. He didn't want to guarantee anything for Terrence. You know, and Terrence stood on his shield. He was like, no, bro, you're not going to treat me like you do your bullshit fighters that you promote or advise. You're not going to do that. So, no. Crawford would be richer. I don't know. Maybe. But like I just explained to you, if you just heard it, they would have to deal with Al Heyman, because Al Heyman had all the welterweights. They had all the fighters, because he's fought everyone else. He's beat Khan, or made him quit. He's beat Kell Brook, right? He came into the welterweight division by beating Jeff Horn, which upset Manny Pacquiao. So I don't know if Eddie could have done enough for him. Yeah, you're right. Could be richer, but that doesn't mean he will. But no, man, the fights last night was good. They were good, very good. But no, Otto Wallin could beat Derek Chisora, and I wonder if Derek Chisora loses, I wonder will he fight, because he's worked on a fight with Francis Ngannou, which I think is a very good fight, because, you know, that's a fight with someone that's going to go toe-to-toe, someone that doesn't have that experience like that, you know what I mean, someone that's not that tricky, that's not that skilled, you know, that's going to come in and attack. So yeah, I like the idea of that fight, but Otto Wallin may be that hurdle. Is Floyd Mayweather in need of money? Asked because of your recent video. Jay, that's what Eddie Hearn said, you know, and again, in the video, I don't think he needs money. Like, in the video, I explained why that he's doing those exhibitions. I think he's not the fact that he doesn't have money. I think the fact that he wants more money because of the money that he spent. Floyd spends a lot of money. Like, stuff that makes you, really makes a regular person angry. Because they're like, dude, what are you doing that for? What are you spending that money for? So what Floyd does is, Floyd knows that he's been on an escapade, and you know he got caught up in some BS in, was it Dubai? And they wouldn't let him leave Dubai? Now, I never touched on that, but, yeah. So, yeah, I don't think that he has money at his disposal like that. You know, even if you're a millionaire, okay? If you're a millionaire and you need money, like if you need cash to pay someone, security money from another country is still hard to get, because it's not as easy like you think it is. Because when you leave the country, a lot of times certain banks that you deal with don't deal with the country that you're in, based on the fact that they don't deal with the country, because if it's a high risk country like Brazil, Nigeria, what else? I know those countries are high risk countries. So if you go there, they'll tell you, well, hey, you may need to take money out. You know, you may need to take money out, because if not, you may not be able to get money. So it's different when you leave the country, man, or leave your country trying to spend your money. So it's easier with bigger banks, because they know if they know you travel, they'll work with you. I just don't want to interrupt this guy. Any good opponents for Inui out there besides Casemiro? No, not really. I think Naoya, I think he's in a bad era, because he's just the best thing in that era. He's, that's what happens. It's like Mike Tyson was in the 80s, Roy Jones Jr. in the 90s, which Roy Jones showed people how good he was, but I just think that he was just so much better than everyone else in his era that there's no one that's really there to challenge him. And it sucks, unfortunately, for these fighters, because that doesn't mean they're less good. That just means they don't have the opportunity to show how good they really are, because they don't have the challenges in front of them, like certain fighters do in certain eras at certain time frames. Okay, like De La Hoya had all that he could handle in the 90s. And even though you had fighters like De La Hoya and Roy Jones fighting at the same time, they weren't in the same weight class. By the time Oscar De La Hoya fought at 160, and actually he never fought at 160, he pulled that catchweight shit at 157 and fought Bernard Hopkins, and Bernard Hopkins stopped him. You see what I mean? Roy Jones Jr., Oscar De La Hoya, Sugar Shane Mosley, which those guys weren't ever as big as Oscar got, but Oscar wanted still the handicap because he was the damn golden boy, and he paid for it. He's, Oscar had a bad last few fights, to be honest with you. His last few fights were bad and sad, because he really got beat by Felix Stern. Felix Stern actually beat him, right? After that, he fights Hopkins. Hopkins stops him. Then I think he goes back down in weight, and he agrees to fight Manny Pacquiao. Well, no, then he fights Floyd, and he loses to Floyd. Then he fights Manny Pacquiao, and then that's the last fight he ever fights. Yeah. Peace, brother Kurt. Kurt, I really believe Crawford can pull it off, but he has got to fight like he belongs and not show Canelo much respect. Smooth Will, you think Terrence Crawford will do that? I don't think so at all. I don't think Terrence Crawford does any of that. I think Terrence Crawford goes in to do exactly what he wants to do. So I don't believe that weight shit. I never did. I don't believe the weight. I just think Canelo's punching power is real. Okay. But I think also, though, that being said, I just know what the kryptonite is for Canelo, and is people that can box and move. See, I think Canelo, he's already said it. I don't like Crawford's style because he moves a lot. Because Canelo is not a guy that has that type of footwork. He never was. He's a good boxer. He has boxing ability. It's Canelo. Canelo's a hell of a counterpuncher. I love his body punches. You know, the left hook, the combinations that Canelo throws are like second to none. I like the way he throws combinations. He will break you down by taking you to the body. Don't let him hit you to the liver. He is extraordinary in that division, but in that department. But also in another department, his footwork is not where it should be. It's not. You know, and I'm just keeping it real with you guys. You know, DJ Anton, big love from South Wales. Counterpunch to you, brother. DJ Anton in the building. St. Don, but Optima outpoints Canelo. Bud outpoints him. He can, you know, but I think Bud's thing is Bud will try something. Man, oh my God. I want to see the fight. I don't see what and why people are so against the fight. You see what I mean? Like, you guys will want Jermell to go to fight Canelo, but you wouldn't want Bud to do that? Bud is at the same weight class that Jermell was reigning in, right? So nobody had a problem with that shit, but nobody wants that. Is it the Bud buddies? Is it because of the Bud buddies don't want Bud to go really fight him because they don't want to see him lose his record because they want their ideology or their idea of the new Mayweather and, you know, second coming and all that shit? It doesn't matter about that. Obviously, Bud is not, I repeat, Bud is not a Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather is a fighter that got older and got the fame and got bitter. He been bitter. Floyd thought that, hey, I deserve to be where these greats are now, but in actuality, he didn't. He just was the best person in his era when he was fighting, and he beat them all or nearly all the people, or he beat enough people to be considered a very good fighter, but he was not considered a great fighter based on the people that were fighting at the time. See, you had people around. You had guys that, okay, let's look at the early 90s for a second. The early 90s were full of fighters. They were undefeated. He wasn't the only one that was undefeated. And he came out of an Olympic school. His Olympic team were full of guys that went on to be champions. You know what I mean? And Floyd was a smaller guy, you know, and he was that guy that, you know, they messed Floyd over. That caused them to be bitter. Think about it. They did the same thing to Roy Jones. You know, that caused Roy to be bitter. But Floyd, he was bitter because they robbed him. They robbed him. They robbed Roy Jones Jr. They, you know, there's some crooks over there at the Olympics, you know. But then he goes on. He becomes one of the youngest champions. He beats Hernandez, right? He beats Hernandez. You know, God bless, you know, Hernandez, right? He beats Hernandez, and he goes on to just wipe guys out like, who else did he beat? I mean, this is early. I mean, he like 20. This guy was stopping guys just by accumulating punches, the combinations, the shoulder roll. You know, he was throwing punches and bunches, but his hands were not as strong as most people's, like Pacquiao. So he did take some hand damage, you know, but he was around all these guys. Frankie Randall was the first guy to drop Julio Cesar Chavez. You know, he was around, got up under guys like that. Oscar De La Hoya was being adored. He was being worshipped almost because he was the guy, the golden boy, right, that became the Olympic gold, and he was making all the money, and he had Bob Arum, and Bob Arum also had Floyd, and Floyd looked at that and like, he cringed because he said, you know what, I can beat Oscar De La Hoya, you know, I'm better than that guy, you know. And so he was looking at other people from the outside looking in, and he was bitter. Okay, Floyd was bitter. But Floyd kept winning, okay? But then Floyd got so bitter that by the time he got the Floyd fight, by that time he had beat Sean B. Mitchell, he had beat Arturo Gatti, he had beat Chop Chop Corley, he had beat these guys. He had beat all of those guys going up to that opportunity, okay? He had to pay Bob Arum to get out of the contract, right? So he had to pay him to get out of that contract so he could have his opportunity to get his money that he wanted from Oscar De La Hoya. And he done it. When he done it, that bitterness was still there. Okay. Then he says, you know what? I'm going to fight Ricky Hatton to show y'all once and for all who's better, because he got tired of people praising Ricky Hatton, the hitman. Okay. So he didn't like that. So that gained more resentment. Okay. Then when he beat the hitman Hatton, he retired. But he also noticed, well, I don't want to fight Oscar De La Hoya, because if Oscar De La Hoya does better than he did last time, he may decision me. And I can't have that, because I know as soon as they give me that mark on my record, they're going to forget about me like they forgot about me before I've got beaten in the first place. Now, we can talk about the Castillo fight all day long, and I think he did have favor in that. Honestly, he had favor in those 2 episodes. So I don't know where the bitterness, I don't think he realizes that though. But understand, when he came back to the sport, it was not about fighting the best. It was not about showing that he was the best, because he always thought that he was the best, because he left people. Understand this. If you guys don't know about Floyd Money, or Pretty Boy, because he was in that transition, when he beat Ricky Hatton, he said he was going to be a rapper and go do music. And he was with Jay Prince, and then the Jay Prince, they called guys came in with guns, because Jay Prince is a different type of dude, okay? So he came in, and then, they had him at gunpoint and robbed him and stuff like that. He was like, you know what, bump this music. I grew up in Grand Rapids. I know what this thug shit's about. So I came back to boxing. But when he came back to boxing, right, he did not want to fight the best fighters. He just wanted to fight the best fighters that he felt that would make him the most money. I would take fortune over fame any day, and he said it himself, and that's what he did ever since. The only problem was younger fighters that came up under him, because he decided to be a promoter of all people, which sucked. Because if he would have just been a trainer, he would have been different. But he has a voice, and people followed what he did. That's why all those guys at the PBC, that's why none of them are really worth the shit. That's why a lot of them didn't live up to their full potential. That's why Tank, you can't find a partner for Tank, because Tank don't want to go nowhere, because Tank thinks he's the shit already. You see what I mean? Floyd ruined these guys. He's ruined their perception of what they think fighter, legends, or being all-time great should really be. They just want to get rich. They just want to be like Floyd. They just want to do something, I want to work smarter instead of harder type shit. If that's the case, go do something else. Because this is boxing. No disrespect to Bud, but I think Canelo would fold him. Okay, great. But I mean, that's the story of the whole issue with that. But what Floyd did beat Canelo, but he fought Canelo because he knew, you know what, I could whoop this kid. I could whoop this 22, 23-year-old kid. I could whoop him. You know what I mean? I'm 36 years old, and, and he did exactly that. You know what I mean? Floyd was one hell of a fighter. It's just he is an example of wasted youth. A sad example of wasted youth and wasted talent. Even though he showed it in the spots, he didn't show it like he could have showed it, but he didn't show it because of the resentment. Okay, so I hope you guys understand that, right? So, but yeah, understand, Terrence Crawford is not a Floyd Mayweather. Okay, he didn't grow up under that PBC Al Heyman shit. I don't think Bud really fit in over there, because he wasn't trying to just get rich because he made enough money. He was trying to show that he was the best. So he's a different type of dude. Bud Crawford's on that Sugar Ray Leonard shit. Okay, Floyd is not. Floyd's on that Floyd shit. Leonard, Sugar Ray Leonard was a guy that wanted to show that he was the best. That's why he came back to fight Hector Macho Camacho, which was stupid because he was way past his prime, but he did try. Okay, so that's that mentality you have, that challenger mentality, that legendary mentality to show that that competitiveness, that's what you have. Big love from South Wales. Absolutely. Okay, so no, great fights last night. I enjoyed them. I think the scorecards were off. What else we got to talk about? Anybody else want to talk about anything before I jump off of here? Because we've been on 40 minutes and I got to get my workout on. So, and this music is hella loud. So, but I think, yeah. Well, Canelo and Bud, I can't wait to see the fight. I hope it gets made, if anything. Then we will see and we will all know, right? But anyway, you guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday. God bless. We will be tomorrow with more videos and more videos. And everyone has been counterpunched. And peace!